Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome back to our best chess games of all time series. So in this series we're following the best of the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And today I wanted to show a really immortal game that was being played between Michael Francis Stean against Walter Shawn Browne. This game was played in 1974 in the Chess Olympiad and Michael Francis Stean was part of the English national team. Walter Shawn Browne was part of the Australian national team. Maybe these two guys are not the most popular players, maybe even we haven't even heard about them, but this game is really incredible. It deserves really to be on our list, the best chess games of all time, and this game was rewarded with the World's Brilliancy Prize in chess. Be prepared, as I always like to say, put your seatbelts on. This was really incredible game. So e4 here played by Michael Francis Stean. We have c5, knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, and now after move a6 we have the Najdorf on the board. And the Najdorf can never be boring, as I always like to say, because the Najdorf is really one of the sharpest Sicilians that you can face. And now here Michael Francis Stean plays this Richter-Rauser ideas. The main goal of this move bishop to g5 is simply to play bishop to f6, then to mess up a little bit the pawn structure. If you play g takes f6, okay, you still have the bishop pair on the board, but actually it's not such a powerful bishop pair. The bishop on f8 would be a bad bishop. So that's why here Walter Shawn Browne plays knight to d7. We have bishop to c4, attacking now the light horse on the board. So that's why e6, unnecessary move, because we have now at least defended the light horse, and we have still opportunities from black's perspective to play the move d5. The main the move d5 is common in this chevening setup. So this is now a chevening pawn structure of the Najdorf Sicilian. The main goal, as we said, d5 pawn break. Not immediately, but as a long-term plan, this could work. So here, castling played by Michael Francis Stean. Walter Shawn Browne played h6. We have bishop to f6. A very interesting idea here by Stean, because many of us would play bishop to e3, maybe bishop to h4, maybe even bishop to c1. And actually, the move bishop takes f6 is the only game that I see in the database in this particular line. So maybe it was part of Michael Francis Stean's home preparation, because this move has never been played, and also afterwards. It's not the point about that. Black is here slightly better, but I think with this move bishop to f6, Stean surprised your Browne a little bit. After move knight to f6, we have now bishop to b3. Bishop to b3, pay good attention, is very necessary here, because if you don't do that, if you play something else, then knight to e4 is always a serious threat. You could take knight takes e4, but then d5 simplifies the position for black, because black is hoping here for, I think, for a simplification. Black wants to secure the king and then get use of the bishop pair, maybe even to trade off the queens, because the queen is a little bit weird here still on the starting square. In the white's opportunities are always f4, queen to f3, then building this very powerful attacks on the d and e file with the rook. So that's why I think a simplification idea would be perfect here for black, but that's why this move bishop to d3 b3 was very necessary in the game. We have b6 here by Browne. It wasn't the best of moves, and this game is really instructive because it shows us how important it is to secure the king first. King security above everything, because now you see the problems if you develop, for instance, this bishop, if you lose many tempi and don't secure the king, because after move b6, here Michael Francis Stean immediately attacks the position with the move f4, bishop to b7, and it seems so that nothing is wrong here, because black has developed the minor pieces. It's not the problem. Still, we can play bishop to e7 and castle, but that's actually not so good anymore, because after queen to d3 and bishop to e7, it was simply too late. Black has lost 2 tempi in the opening. As I said, this is, I think, a very instructive example of king security. Bishop to e7 leads now into complications for black, because here Michael Francis Stean played an immortal sacrifice, knight takes e6, and this is a common idea in the Najdorf Sicilians, to sacrifice something around the square e6, but not in this such early stage of the game, because after f takes e6 and bishop to e6, still it's unclear what's going on the board, because white does have support with the bishop. What black needs to do is play something like queen to c7 and escape with the king, or maybe play king to f8, then maybe something like g6 and king to g7, trying to secure the king. In the game, Browne played an unnecessary move again, b5. It leads now again into further complications because e5 is now threatening, of course, to take out the knight. You have to react. Queen to b6. We have king to h1, and now d takes e5. But of course, we're playing first to move queen to g6, and now the king is in danger. King to d8 has to be played, and now many of us, I think, would play simply the move rook to d1. But actually, it would be a mistake. It's game over here for white. If you play this move, black has opportunities to escape. King to c7. You can maybe take out this pawn and threaten to take out the knight, but still your bishop is hanging on e6, so that's why it's game over. So black will also escape. King to b8, king to a7, and you don't have any more attacking possibilities. So that's why here queen to f7 was played. So rook to d1 would be a huge blunder. Queen to f7. Michael Francis' team plays the correct move. He stays with the queen very active into the game, because now rook to d1 is a serious threat, because the king could be deflected from the defense of the bishop. So here queen to c5. Now we have f takes e5. We have bishop to g2. Here, Browne is trying to counterattack somehow to create further weaknesses in front of the king. Tried maybe even to do some perpetuals. Probably he realized that he made several blunders in the opening, so now he's trying to get at least a draw. After move bishop to g2, Stean accepts the challenge. King takes g2. We have rook to f8. What Browne probably hoped for here is that white escapes here with the queen on g6, and then he would have time simply to escape with the king somewhere else here and maybe try to compete on the d file, and would solve all of the positional problems. But that's actually not so good, because here Stean found a great move first. Rook to d1, king to c7, and now we have queen to g7. And it seems so that the queen is trapped, because rook to g8 will happen. You could maybe try here bishop to g8, but again rook to g8, and you lose the queen on the g file. That's exactly what happened. Here Browne tried rook to g8, but here first e takes f6, a great move by Stean. Queen takes rook takes g7. We have f takes g7, and now bishop to d6, attacking simply the h2 pawn. But it's not the problem. The main issue, I think, for black here is that black cannot attack the light squares. Black cannot attack the king anywhere here on the light squares. The bishop is controlling the square d5. The knight is controlling both of the squares. Even if you try queen to c6, you get queen to bishop to d5. So your rook is hanging. And now, of course, the serious threat is the move g8, simply promotion. But actually, the move g8 immediately would be a huge blunder here by white, because if you do this wasn't played in the game, but you see now how you can make a draw in a completely winning position. After the move g8 promotion, rook to g8, bishop to g8, and now you get queen to g5. Simply attacking and simply taking out the bishop, and I think this game would be simply a draw for both sides. The evaluation is 0.0 on my Stockfish engine at home, so maybe this is still complicated to play, but what black needs to do, I think, is simply try some perpetuals, try to attack the king, maybe sneak in somehow with the queen, attacking also the h2 pawn, so it's playable, I think, for both sides. So after move f takes g7 and bishop to d6 here, Michael Francis Stean played the correct move, rook to f7. The main issue now for black is that black cannot escape on the 8th rank. If that happens, we'll simply play the promotion, of course. So you have to escape here on the 6th rank. Even if you cover, there is always this threat of rook to d7, or we can immediately take, so it's also a bad game. So nothing there's nothing good that black can do anymore. I think in the game king to c6 was played. Even a worse idea is if you play king to b6, because now you get knight to d5. If you play king to a5, then you get the fork here with the move b4, so it's game over. So that's why king to c6 necessary here, but now bishop to d5, attacking the king. The king has to escape now, and now we have bishop to a8, queen to g5, the check. We have king to h1, and the problem is, again, you don't have checks on light squares, so it's completely winning here for white. In the game, bishop to e5 was played, and now b4. This is a very cool move by Michael Francis Stean. He cuts off now here the potential escape route for black's king. Black cannot escape through the square a5 or c5. In the game, we have a5, and now rook to b7 first to check. The king has to move here to c6. If you play king to a6, then you get simply a4. That's the serious threat, because after bishop to d4, here comes the check. You have to sacrifice the queen back and it would be game over. So after move rook to b7, king to c6, a very necessary move, but now Michael Francis Stean plays here the promotion you have to take, and now we have here this discovered attack, rook to b8, and in this position Browne simply resigned. So really beautiful game, beautiful sharp attack in the Knight of Sicilian, great tactics around the square e6. Please consider sometimes this tactics around the square e6, sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not, but when you see this passive play of black, sometimes you can use these tactical elements in like in this game, and I hope you can punish your opponent for some passive play. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more attacking brilliances like this, check out my best chess games of all time series. Here's the link. And if you want to see maybe the best chess games played by engines, check out my best chess games played by computers. Here's also the link. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.